We're family for all your needs. SVP, SVP TV. We're family. We're gonna make you fall in love with SVP. We're gonna make you fall in love with SVP TV. SVP, SVP TV.
Looking for something new? We thought so. SVP is mixing things up, and digital TV, it'll never be the same.
SVP TV, we're family. We're gonna make you fall in love with SVP.
Download the SVP app today on Roku, Apple, and Fire TV. Watch us. You know why?
We're gonna make you fall in love with SVP TV.
You're talking about a good time shield. We all come on now.
Center Stage Gospel Music live from Memphis, Tennessee, featuring gospel artists from around the world. Toe tapping, hand clapping, down home gospel music. Watch on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV, and your local Comcast. Download the SVP TV app now on your smart television and mobile device. Center Stage Gospel season premieres Sunday, 8 p.m. Central. Tune in to Talking Law with attorney Daryl O'Neill and the special guest host, attorney Jerome Payne. Live TV talk on your digital device on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Download the SVP TV app right now. Check us out every Tuesday on Comcast Cable, Channel 17, 8:30 p.m. And we are live every Friday on Facebook Live, 6 o'clock in the evening. You've got a question?
Good, Jerome. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
Man, I'm great. So we need to say, if you're watching Facebook Live, I think we're up and running. So if you Facebook Live, pick the phone up, call us.
Absolutely.
Also, if you Roku Live, you can pick the phone up. YouTube Live, you can pick the phone up. Fire Stick, Apple TV, the SVP TV network app. Any of those things, you can pick the phone up and call.
And you can be a part of the show tonight.
Absolutely. You ask any questions that you want.
In fact, they can even put us in the direction where the show ought to lead. Because we don't mind taking a question about any
Right.
subject at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and we relish that opportunity because
Absolutely.
that's why we do this show.
Yes.
The other thing we need to give our shout outs, Jerome.
Okay.
So we need to shout out to California, man. And my son's still up there, in sunny California, man.
Man.
Give our shout outs to West Memphis, Arkansas. Little Rock,
First,
Arkansas.
yeah.
Then West
Then
Memphis.
work your way on back to the way.
Work way back to West Memphis. Then we need to say Shelby County. Welcome Shelby County. Welcome to Mississippi. And Mom, welcome to the great state of Missouri.
Yeah, Darren, you won't let me talk about politics
Man,
like to talk about it, man.
you
but no, what? I'll just leave it like that.
You always say,
I'm excited about where we are at this point. It looks like the people in Georgia recognize the importance of the election because, now there are at least 50 senators who are Democrat. And it would be a plus if we were able to pick up a second seat, which would be 51.
Yeah.
And then we don't have to keep going through this mess with Sinema and your boy down there in Virginia. And that's where he's at.
Who's that?
Joe Manchin. Yeah, where Manchin is at down there blocking everything.
Oh man, I don't know much of nothing. No.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
But
I just know I need to get my vote in, and I just do that part of it.
And there you need to be more engaged because that's going to be where you young people are, man.
Yeah.
And all of those old people who were in the Democratic Party, Nancy Pelosi,
And she 80 plus, man.
yes, Steny Hoyer,
Minority.
minority. That's right. He
Yeah,
minority.
yeah.
But if Democrats lost control of the House
Right.
by about 5 or 6 seats, but that's the first time there's ever been an African American in the upper echelons, and so we're excited about where the country may be going. We suffered a tremendous back step with our last president. And so now we're having to recover from that. And I think we're making a pretty good start. And I appreciate that, man, allowing me to have a little political stuff going on.
Hey, Jerome want to get on that. He want to start beating that politics. You know, but again, you know, the one thing that Jerome and I adamantly agree about is you need to vote.
Absolutely.
You know, you need to vote. And always the problem becomes, and I guess that's my issue with the politicians, they never realize that they're supposed to be exercising what I voted for them to do. They always seem to have their agenda, which is contrary to my agenda. And my problem is, once you decide that you're gonna go to Congress on my behalf, whatever your agenda is, has died.
That's exactly right.
You know, but they don't get that, and that's why I have such a disdain about how they do business.
Well, sometimes it's by design, and I just thought about it. I got a chance to see Chancellor Melanie.
Yes, yeah, Chancellor Jefferson.
Yeah, because I remember when her name was Melanie Taylor.
Right,
when I
right,
was
right.
We went to law school together.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, she was in front of me.
Okay.
A year in front of me.
Okay.
And so I was really excited about that. So now we have 2 African Americans who are chancellors and 1 Caucasian. So at one point there were all 3 of them. You said that was never true, right?
Who's that?
All 3 of the chancellors were black.
No, not at one time.
It was never true.
No,
Okay.
not at one time.
Well, anyway, Melanie, congratulations. You look good, girl. Do your thing.
Do your thing.
I like Melanie too. I liked her when she was a practicing attorney.
Oh
Right?
yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, she's always been good people.
And she's fair.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, now what Melanie is the first female chancellor, black or white,
Black or white. Yeah.
in Shelby County.
Yes.
In Shelby County.
Yeah.
So that's you know, so she's the first in two lanes.
And you know, where's Chancellor Ellen Hobbs at? Where's she at there?
So she was up in Nashville.
Now, she is a powerful chancellor, too. She has some pretty good rulings
Mm-hmm.
throughout, and I love her, and I know we're going to love Melanie, just like we love Joe Day,
Mm-hmm.
and we love Chancellor Cowles, too, as well. So things are looking good there.
Yeah, I mean, look, the court is supposed to be, when Chancery Court, and I've had this argument and disagreement with even chancellors.
In the chancellor, a
Not-
court of equity and a court.
Not any of the ones that are on the bench.
Okay.
So let's not say that I've not had that with any one of the ones on the bench. Now.
Let me hasten to add that.
Yeah, hasten to add that.
I got you.
But my understanding has always been, and the reason why I file a lot of my cases in Chancery Court.
Yeah, yeah.
I file a lot of my contract cases, my employment cases, my writ of certs. You know, because a writ of cert from the Civil Service Commission can be filed in circuit court. Most people
Okay.
don't know that.
Really?
You can
Okay.
file it in circuit or chancery.
Okay.
But I file mine in Chancery Court because Chancery Court hears them more than circuit court anyway.
Okay.
And it's a court of equity.
Yes.
And the point of the matter is, you know, a lot of the chancellors had gotten to the point where they would say, well, equity follows the law.
Mhm,
And that's,
So it really means that you ought to be
Yeah.
tilted somewhat
Right.
to equity, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the only problem with that is obviously if there's law that's been codified or,
Oh, sure.
or determined or decided by the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court, you know, if the chancellor rules in an equitable way, now, when I'm talking about in a way that statutorily they can't rule,
Right.
even though equity says that they should rule this way, unfortunately, they can go to the Court of Appeals and get reversed.
And
Even if it's the right thing.
It's reviewable by the court, but if there's a good faith reason for believing that that the chancellor should rule that way, and that's how they do it. But
Well-
that's how we get changes in the law.
Well,
precedents.
if a matter is, so the way the equity is supposed to play out,
Mhm.
if the matter involves a trial, before the chancellor, they can use those equity remedies.
Ah.
But if it's a statutory review,
Okay.
or one of those statutory mechanism, it's not, the equity, sometimes the equity it doesn't exist.
I got you.
It's clean.
I got you.
But if I'm the finder of fact,
Yeah.
I can make a finding that's contrary, I don't want to say contrary to the law, but it's equitable.
Mhm.
I made this ruling because of equitable.
And
They don't have to justify a finding.
Right.
Because, if they're the finders of facts, it's like a jury. A jury can make the most horrible decision that's out there, and they don't have to justify it. That's their function, to find and determine what they believe the facts are.
Right.
And the chancellery, when they're the finder of fact, gets to make that same determination.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good to know.
So we want to talk about this, some discrimination laws.
Oh, okay.
But I really want to narrow, because discrimination laws are just humongous.
Well, but it's been gutted quite a bit too there with
it
these
has.
recent rulings from all these different courts.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we need to talk about it, because some of the things that were commonly known are no longer in place now, aren't they?
Yeah,
Are
and
they? Yeah.
yeah. So, and what I want to really talk about, and this is the law is a two-prong. Now, what I want to talk about is Americans with Disability
Okay.
Act, which follows up to the reasonable accommodations. Because I really want to hone in on reasonable accommodations.
Okay. Okay.
And so when we look at that, if you have an issue that you believe may hinder you, you can actually go to your employer and say, I need help. And the employer, depending on what the issue is, and if they can, they're supposed to help you.
Well, and there are.
And I'm being vague about them because I'm gonna clean it up a little
Yeah,
bit.
but what I wanted to say though is many of these statutory language only kicks in if there are a certain amount of employees.
This is
Is
true.
this one too as well?
It
Right,
does, because
yeah.
this is gonna fall. So it's funny you said that. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
So the Americans with Disability, so there's a federal Americans with Disability Act.
Okay.
But Tennessee has its own.
The Tennessee Human Rights.
The Tennessee Human Rights Act
Okay.
also has a disability provision inside of their
Okay.
statute.
Okay.
The difference between the two is if you are seeking reasonable accommodations under the state statute, it doesn't exist.
Oh.
So the state statute does not require them to provide you with reasonable
And
accommodations.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but the federal statute requires the employer to provide you with reasonable accommodations.
Okay.
The other thing is the state statute doesn't have a cap on it either. So the sky's the limit.
But
But
the
it's a
problem
harder-
is trying to get
Man,
into it, right?
woo! It's a harder,
Yeah.
a harder road to get there.
Right, to get there, yeah.
But the Americans with Disability says, if you have a disability, and they've gotten it even to, if it's a disability that has been corrected. So for instance, if you got diabetes, but you take medications to correct that,
Mhm.
you still fall in Americans with Disability Act.
Okay, okay.
Or if you have an eyesight issue, but you wear glasses, because that's a disability.
Right.
Because the glasses is what corrects your sight. So even though you have something that's correctable or that has corrected your disability, it doesn't take from the fact that you do have a disability.
Right, okay.
So when they amended and fixed, and the Supreme Court actually did this a few years back, cleaned it up a little bit more and said, wait a minute, if you have it, you have it. Doesn't matter whether it's been corrected or not.
Okay.
If you have it, you have it.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah, so if you have a disability, and that disability, and you want to work, the disability says to the employer, hey, I have a disability, will you hire me? And the employer has to say yay or nay.
Mm-hmm,
And if they say yay, the question becomes how? Do they hire you, requiring you to see from one end of the room to the other end of the room, but you can't see from one end of the room to the other end of the room without your glasses?
Mm-hmm.
So if they require you to do that, is there a way that you can do that and work for that company? Yeah, glasses. So
Okay.
that's a reasonable accommodation.
Okay,
I'm gonna allow you to wear glasses to work on my job.
okay,
Okay, so that's a reasonable accommodation.
right.
Now, in order for you to do this job, you're gonna need telescope and synchronized lenses and some of these extra things.
Right. That may not be
The question
reasonable.
is that
Yeah.
a reasonable
Yeah,
accommodation?
that may not be reasonable. But it probably also depends on how much burden would be on the employer to reasonably accommodate you, doesn't it?
Well, and that's what I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Because the reasonable accommodation standard goes two prong. It goes, number one, is what you're asking for, is it reasonable?
Yeah.
And number two, is it financially conducive?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, is it going to be is it going to be, better word, cost prohibitive?
Prohibited.
Yeah, is it going to be cost prohibitive? And
Is it gonna be like Elon Musk paid $44 billion?
do I gotta pay? Yeah. And let me give you an
For 20,
example of
yeah.
that, Jerome. Here's a good example.
Okay.
You're handicapped. You're in a wheelchair.
Mhm.
I own a business, right? My business has 2 stories on it. Okay. You want to work for my business, but all of my work is on the second story.
Mhm.
My warehouse, all this other stuff is on the second story. Do I have to hire you? I can. Do I have to provide you reasonable accommodation? Possibly.
Yeah.
If the reasonable accommodation requires me to put in an elevator, is that reasonable? Is that cost prohibitive? Or if it requires me to put a ramp that circles around the building and goes up, again, is that reasonable? Is that cost prohibitive? And those are always going to be the questions.
Interesting, yeah.
Somebody will say, well, man, I want to sue somebody because they won't give me a reasonable accommodation. Well, what's your accommodation? Man, I want to be able to come in and work. I want to be able to be late every day.
Whenever I wake up.
Whenever I wake up, I got narcolepsy.
Yeah.
I fall asleep.
Right.
Okay, and all of that's fine.
Right.
Because I can provide you reasonable accommodation. But number one, my issue is going to be if my job requires you to drive a car,
Oh,
I can't let you
no,
drive.
you can't, no.
Because I got seizures. I
Yes.
have seizures. Well, I want to be a Domino's driver.
No,
I can't let you do that.
that's exactly right.
I know you have seizures. If you go out and have a seizure and kill somebody, I am not liable because I knew that before I let you go out
That's
there.
exactly right, yeah.
So there are the
Also too, unless a physician can say that it's controlled by medication, and as long as they're on their medication, they should be fine.
nobody says that for seizures.
Really?
No.
Dilantin?
Dilantin, phenobarbital
Yeah,
will
this
control.
will control it,
It will
right.
control it, but it doesn't mean you're not going to have one.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You come on now. You know as a nurse.
Well, I'm just saying that if I could get my physician to certify
Yeah.
that my epilepsy is under control because my levels, I check my Dilantin levels periodically, and as long as they're in this level, I should be able to do that job.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I don't know that there's a such thing as your seizures being controlled. And the reason why I say that, you probably know this as well as I do, and maybe even better, but when I work 911 as a paramedic, I can't tell you the number of times I responded to somebody that has had a seizure.
Right.
And they've been having seizures all their life. And they take the medications for their seizures. And again,
They still have
they
them.
still have them.
Okay.
Because you just don't, the medications, your Dilantin or phenobarbital or
Right,
whatever,
right.
and those have side effects.
Right.
Dilantin and phenobarbital have side effects. It's kind of like, when people will have the mental health, some of the mental health issues, they would give them lithium.
Right. Right.
They now found out that lithium has some substantial side effects. it causes delusions.
Mm.
You know, so now you're taking lithium, you got your schizophrenia under
Right.
control,
Right.
you know, or some of your other issues under
Right.
control, but you have delusions.
Yeah.
Now you go kill somebody because you got delusions. So I mean, so the question has always been, what is a reasonable accommodation?
Yeah. So audience, we're right back to where we began
Yeah.
at. What is reasonable? And what, I mean, because one thing, and I don't know, Dare, if I'm correct now, you correct me, because I don't usually deal
Mm-hmm.
in this area a lot, but there is a liberty, public accommodations.
And that's a different one, and that's a different, because,
Yeah.
the disability, so you got Title I and Title II of the Americans with Disability Act.
Okay.
And one covers public and one covers
Private.
just private.
Yeah, okay.
And, because those are all the different things, obviously, if this is the courthouse needs to
Is
have.
required
Is
in-
required to
Yeah.
have.
Yes.
There used to be, I can't remember this guy I knew, and he asked me to help him with some cases, but they used to search out for people
Certainly.
that organizations or areas that did not have,
That's-
did not provide a reasonable accommodation in
Exactly.
public for,
Exactly.
I mean, they had people that would go in there and go to the bathroom and sit in a public seat
Yeah.
and see that it wasn't, I think it's 15.7 or 14.7, 14 inches, 14.7 feet high, high.
Really?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
it's supposed to be 14 inches, 14.7 inches high.
Okay.
And, if it wasn't, it didn't meet the level of a handicapped toilet.
Right. So then that's a lawsuit.
Then the ones to go and file a lawsuit, I went to the thing, I couldn't use the bathroom because the toilet they had wasn't handicap accessible.
Right.
I mean, so, I said this earlier today in another presentation, it's a bunch of opportunists out there,
Yeah.
that will, because Title I, Title II of the Americans with Disability Act, obviously a public place is supposed to have all these accommodations to allow a person that is physically challenged to be able to access.
Yes. Yes.
So I can't access the court if they have no ramps.
That's right. That's
You
right.
know, and
That's supposed to
Yeah.
provide you with the ability to be able to follow the trial,
Right.
even though
And they will,
you
and they
have-
will.
Is that right?
oh yeah, they will.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, again, shucks, man, you know this. I mean, if you go to trial and you don't speak English, they'll provide you an interpreter.
With interpreter.
Yeah, so they're gonna make sure that you get the benefit of the justice system.
Okay.
So that's the Title I.
Is that
Title-
civil or just
That's
or that
period.
criminal?
That's both.
Okay.
That's both. Even in civil court, you have interpreters.
Okay.
If somebody says, I don't speak English, well, what do you speak?
I know they do that in bankruptcy court.
Yeah, they do it
It's
in
100.
General Sessions Court.
Yeah, it's 100 interpreters that just call the number and
Yeah.
tell them what language they need.
Yeah, whatever
And-
language-
and
yeah, whatever
next thing
language you need.
Somebody's on the phone doing it.
Yeah. So,
And that's another example of what public servants should be doing. People who have sought to be our representatives need to do things that are benefiting the people, and that's certainly one of the.
yeah,
things
that's,
there.
that's, again, and I want to correct one thing.
Okay.
You do have a property interest in your job. But normally that property interest is in government jobs.
Okay. Only.
Only.
Okay.
It's normally not in your regular jobs because Tennessee is a right to work state.
Yeah. Okay.
And unless you have a contract or something that guarantees you that job,
I got
then
you.
you're not gonna have a property interest. But if it's a governmental, the city of Memphis, I think even Shelby County.
Okay.
They changed the language in the tenure statute to say that it's not a property interest, but it really is.
It really is.
But they changed the statute to say it's not a property interest. Because people like me were arguing due process violations, and the legislators got wind of it, and they were trying to clean it up,
Right.
But it really is, because as a teacher, your job is guaranteed. They can only fire you by taking you to a tenure. So it's government job.
Okay, so it has to be for cause, not.
Yeah, for cause.
For cause, yeah.
For cause.
Okay.
So, those things. So, but, the thing that we always talk, what we're trying to do in this particular segment is we wanted you to understand that there is something that protects you if you have a disability. And that disability can even go as far as COVID. So if you're highly susceptible to COVID, for instance, you got respiratory issues, you
I
know,
like that.
or heart issues,
Yeah.
and you
I like
need
that.
to work
Yeah.
from home
Yeah.
because, you know, you're highly susceptible to the COVID virus.
Right.
Again, if that is a reasonable accommodation, and like I don't have, you can't work for me doing that
Mhm.
because my office is not remote.
Right.
You can't. I need somebody to take the phone. I need somebody to take clients. I need somebody to take money. I need, you know, so
Right.
that's not going to work.
Right.
So I mean, but I guess a lawyer could possibly do that.
Certainly,
You know,
certainly. Because most of these, you just have to ask to do it telephonically
Yeah.
or to do it what?
Yeah,
Virtually.
virtually,
Yeah,
right.
so yeah. This has been a very informative program tonight. This is an area where I don't usually work in,
Mhm.
so I appreciate you sharing that on
Man,
tonight.
you know I love these discrimination laws, man. I mean, they keep my lights on.
Right.
All right, y'all. Another 30 minutes gone by. Appreciate you watching the show. You know, again, if you got a subject, got a concern, got a question, man, just tune in, give us a call, give us, you know, send us an email, text, or whatever, and we can work through something. Thank you. We'll see you back next week.
You were talking about a good time, she